The gaming world eagerly awaited the arrival of Ghost of Yotei. The sequel to the critically acclaimed Ghost of Tsushima promised to transport players back to feudal Japan. Excitement reached fever pitch as the release date neared. However, Sucker Punch Productions, the studio behind the game, made a bold decision. They chose to introduce the new protagonist, Atsu, a female warrior. This change signaled a departure from the beloved Jin Sakai, the protagonist of the original game. Jin's story had resonated deeply with players. To many, he embodied the samurai spirit. The decision to replace him with Atsu sparked controversy within the gaming community. Some welcomed the change, praising the studio for embracing diversity. Others expressed concern, questioning the motivation behind the decision. The debate surrounding Atsu's introduction touched upon a sensitive issue in gaming: forced inclusivity. This term, often used critically, refers to the practice of inserting characters or narratives into games solely for the sake of promoting diversity, rather than organically developing them within the game's world. While the intention behind inclusivity is often positive, the execution can sometimes feel heavy-handed. This can lead to accusations of tokenism and detract from the overall player's experience. The question on many players' mind was simple: was Atsu's introduction a natural progression of Ghost of Tsushima universe, or was she a symptom of a larger trend of prioritizing diversity over storytelling? The gaming industry, like many forms of entertainment, has been grappling with issues of representation and inclusivity. This push for greater diversity in games is at its core a positive development. It reflects a desire to create worlds that are more reflective of our own, where players from all backgrounds can see themselves represented in the stories that they consume. However, the line between genuine representation and forced inclusivity can be very thin. When developers prioritize diversity quotas over organic storytelling, the result can feel forced and inauthentic. Characters can become caricatures, their presence serving a checklist rather than enriching the narrative. In the case of Ghost of Yotei, the question of forced inclusivity hinged on Atsu's integration into the game's world. Did her story feel like an organic part of the Ghost of Tsushima universe, or was she a jarring addition? Did her presence enhance the narrative, or did it feel like a concession to the external pressures? The debate sparked by Atsu's introduction highlights the challenges faced by developers in navigating the complex landscape of representation. While the desire for diversity is commendable, it should not come at the expense of quality storytelling. When inclusivity feels forced, it can have ripple effects on various aspects of a game's design and reception. One of the most significant casualties is often the narrative itself. A story that feels engineered to accommodate specific characters or themes can lose its organic flow and identity. Character development, a cornerstone of compelling storytelling, can also suffer. Characters introduced to fulfill diversity quotas may lack depth or complexity. They might feel less like full realized individuals and more like archetypes or tokens. This lack of authenticity can create a disconnect between players and the characters they're meant to connect with. Moreover, forced inclusivity can disrupt the delicate balance of a game's world building. If a game's universe is suddenly populated with characters or elements that feel out of place, it can shatter the player's sense of immersion. This in turn can undermine the player's ability to suspend disbelief and fully invest in the game's world. The conversation surrounding Ghost of Yotei is not an isolated one. The gaming industry has witnessed a growing trend of incorporating diverse characters and themes into established franchises. This trend has been met with both praise and criticism. Take Ubisoft's Assassin's Creed series for instance. The latest installment, Assassin's Creed Shadows, features a main character who is African despite the game's Japanese setting. The decision has sparked controversy amongst fans who feel it detracts from the authenticity of the historical context. Another example is the failure of Concord, a game that prioritized diversity over gameplay, leading to poor reception and disappointing sales. Lastly, Star Wars Outlaws has been criticized for its lackluster gameplay and forced diversity, which many believe has compromised the overall quality of the game. These examples highlight the challenges faced by developers in navigating the complex and often contradictory demands of a diverse player base. The push for inclusivity in gaming continues to be a contentious issue with strong opinions on both sides. One of the most significant risks associated with prioritizing diversity over other considerations is the potential alienation of a game's core audience. Longtime fans often develop a deep connection with established characters and lore. When these elements are perceived as being altered or sidelined in favor of promoting a particular message, it can lead to feelings of betrayal and resentment. This is not to suggest that developers should shy away from introducing new perspectives and new characters into their games. However, it is essential to strike a balance between innovation and respect for the elements that made that franchise successful in the first place. Ignoring the concerns of a loyal fanbase can have significant consequences. Negative word of mouth can impact sales and damage a franchise reputation, and in extreme cases, it can even lead to boycotts. Developers must tread carefully, recognizing that while inclusivity is a worthy goal, it should not come at the expense of alienating the very people who made their games successful in the first place. The debate surrounding forced inclusivity in gaming ultimately boils down to a fundamental question. How can developers create games that are both inclusive and top-notch? The answer is, as with most things, lies in finding a balance. Diversity should not be a checkbox exercise, a mere matter of meeting quotas. Instead, it should be an organic part of the creative process. Characters from diverse backgrounds should feel like natural additions to the game's world, their stories woven seamlessly into the fabric of the narrative. This requires developers to move more beyond token representation and invest in creating characters that are well developed, relatable, and integral to the story that they're trying to tell. When characters are well written and their motivations are clear, their race, gender, or sexual orientation becomes secondary to their role in the story. Ultimately, the success of a game should be judged on its overall quality, its story, its gameplay, and its characters. When developers prioritize these elements, inclusivity ceases to be a point of contention and becomes simply a reflection of the diverse world that we live in. Ghost of Yotei and Sucker Punch will most likely fail with this game because the response to the customer's base of "don't like it, don't buy it," it's unacceptable. If we customers don't buy it, the game will ultimately fail. Anyways, thank you so much for watching, guys. If you really like this video, please subscribe, like, and comment. It's free and will help me a ton. Thank you, and till the next one.